Philip here with another quick video about winter issues with your RV, trailer, motorhome, whatever you want to call that thing. Let me go over a couple things real quick with you, things that people normally would not check for or think to check for when it comes to winter and cold weather. So I've got a quick list real quick. The number one, probably the obvious one. Now, if you haven't already, and this is not related to water issues, that's a different video. Watch that separate. Water issues are completely separate. This is all drivetrain related stuff, exterior kind of things to think about before you send a renter out on their trip in cold weather. All right. The obvious one is tires. Okay. Your tires will lose pressure in the wintertime, in the cold weather, regardless. They are going to lose pressure. Tires are designed to be able to absorb and contract whatever pressure. It's physics, right? It's just natural laws. But just because the tire pressure drops low doesn't mean you can't put pressure back into it. So if your tire pressure is lower than what it ought to be, fill it back up and put it at the designated pressure that the vehicle requires. And again, this is for trailers and for drivable motorhomes. Okay, so regardless of whatever kind of system you've got, your tires still need to maintain proper pressure. All right, next one, batteries. Here's another one that seems kind of obvious that people don't really think about, and that's your batteries. Engine battery, if it's a drivable, engine batteries are generally fine. They're not going to be too affected by the cold weather. You should, if you're in a cold climate, you should already have an engine-friendly battery. But RV batteries, on the other hand, that's a different thing. They're set up a little differently. So you need to maintain their proper voltage, meaning they need to be plugged in and charged, or you need to actually remove it from your trailer or remove it from your motorhome fully charged and store it in a warm environment until it's ready to be used. If the renters are going out with it or whatever, it should be fully charged anyway. But you should not leave that battery sitting inside your motorhome or trailer during the wintertime for a couple reasons. One, the voltage obviously is going to slowly drop. And then two, because of the I say water, but it's an acid water mix inside of the battery, that has potential to freeze. And if it does freeze, if it gets cold enough, it could freeze, which will expand your batteries. And that's when you get that like balloon look on some of your batteries. That's one reason why that happens. Other reasons as well, but that's one of the reasons why batteries will expand like that. So I highly recommend fully charge it or keep it plugged in and charged, during the wintertime, or just unplug it, bring it into your garage somewhere warm, put a trickle charger on it, whatever the case may be, and just store it properly so it doesn't freeze. Yes, you can use your battery disconnect switch if you have those. Sure, it'll disconnect and not slowly drain your battery, but it has nothing to do with the cold. That's only just disconnecting power to the coach. All right, next one that's a lot of people definitely don't think about. This one isn't a huge concern, so I don't want to scare anybody by saying this, because when people hear this, they just kind of freak out. Propane. If you have outside tanks, like on a travel trailer or something, you're going to want to check, the hose, the connection, the fitting to the regulator and to the actual bottle. Make sure they're not frozen. Make sure they haven't expanded or cracked due to cold weather. It does happen. It can happen. So when you slowly turn those on, make sure you're not getting any leaks between those 2 points. I would check that each and every time in cold weather. You can always just spray, soap water on the ends or whatnot. You can listen for it, I suppose. But definitely make sure that there's no leak on your hose. In the wintertime, it is suggested, hey, take that propane, probably not inside your house, because that's also a hazard as well, but store it properly. If you're going to keep it on the trailer, which is perfectly fine, make sure it's shut off, okay? And then the hose is really the big issue with that, and make sure there's no leak between the connections. On the motorhomes, you can't really check or do anything like that. On the motorhomes, same thing kind of applies. You just want to make sure your valve, there's no leak on the valve, like the valve didn't freeze, the O-rings didn't freeze or break. And again, this isn't to scare you. You don't have to be a tech. Just check and make sure you have no leaks due to cold weather, or if it's winterized and it's stored and then you're coming to spring or summer rentals, same rule applies. Just make sure the O-rings didn't get cracked or break. Make sure your hoses are still good and intact, that there's no leaks in those systems. So propane is one that people always tend to forget about or miss, and it happens. And it's not often, but it does have probability. There's small chance that it could happen. So keep an eye on that. Last thing, and this one's so obvious, this is obviously only drivables, but your washer fluid. So if you're in a warm climate like Arizona, Texas, Florida, California, and you're in a warm climate, you're probably not used to using de-icer or cold all-season windshield washer fluid. So stock up on that or buy it. I use it. It doesn't matter where my locations are at for my rentals. I always use that stuff because it's just as good in hot weather. It's still going to deal with bugs, and it's going to be good in cold weather as well. So I'm not having to swap them out or flush out the systems or whatever. Not that you have to do anything major with windshield washer fluid. You can just drain it. But again, so 2 brands that I recommend. I'm not going to post them on the video. Maybe down the road when I get better at this and I have somebody who can edit my videos for me. But check Rain-X. Rain-X has an all-season brand. It's a de-icer, or they have a de-icer that you can blend with it. But just look for that stuff on Walmart, Amazon, wherever you want to find it. I'm sure they sell it at auto stores, but if you're in warm weather, they probably don't. But you want to make sure it can be frozen. Like it can go below freezing, and it's safe to put in your vehicle below freezing temperatures. Otherwise, what ends up happening, if you've never experienced this, you'll turn your windshield wiper fluid on, and it won't do anything because it's frozen. So keep that in mind. And it's probably good once you swap it out to put the cold weather friendly windshield washer fluid in it, run it through the system so that way it's in the tubes, it's in the motor or in the pump, and it's working properly and there's no issues. And then the other brand, I'm so sorry, I'm all over the place. The other brand is Prestone. Prestone makes one as well. It's called a 3-in-1 all-season windshield washer fluid. You can find both of these at pretty much anywhere. Just do a Google search and find it. So that's all I've got. Tires, check your tires. Keep an eye on your propane. Make sure there's no leaks at the valves and the hoses. Your batteries, make sure they're stored or charged properly, and then that they're not going to freeze. Make sure water, the acid and water levels are good inside of them. And then windshield washer fluid, if you have a drivable unit, swap it out with stuff that's cold weather or freezing friendly. All right, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching. Happy renting. Have a wonderful day.